Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome everyone to this wonderful, sunshiny, beautiful day. You just have to think higher. If you go high enough, it's a beautiful, sunshiny day. Down here is a little messy, but that's okay. So isn't that how life is sometimes? It's just where we are in the moment can seem kind of messy. If you just think a little higher, it can be a lot brighter, a lot sunnier. There's always something better going on. So knowing that, join me if you will in our opening. I know this with me. I'll do this in the first person. There's one power, one life, one truth. It is everywhere present. It is right here, right now. So as we move into this celebration, we do so knowing that we have an opportunity to get a better idea of ourselves, a better idea of life, a better idea of God. As we do that, it makes a difference in our everyday living. So we move into this time with our hearts open, our heads open, and our individual energies and consciousness ready for something new. We do this with joy, with ease, and with freedom. We let it be, and so it is. Such is the nature of life. It just wants one thing. All it wants, all it asks. So the opportunity to show up is life. You're that opportunity, and so am I, so it is. Because that's true, because we know that's true, we celebrate life in all of its forms. We celebrate you and your life in all of your forms. And all of the places you've been, the things you've done that have brought you to this moment, to this place, to this time. We celebrate who you are, who you've been, who you're going to be, which becomes greater and greater all the time. In that celebrating and in that knowing, we do live here under a mission statement, which goes like this. You'll see it in your program if you want to follow along. As soon as I put my hands on it. We are a strong, open, globally connected community centered on the clarity of principle. Through teaching, service, and practice, we create a safe, respectful environment that supports healthy spiritual growth. That is our vision, that is our mission, that is what we're here to do together now and in all of our activities and everything we do. So I welcome you. I thank you for being here. If you're here for the first time, we give you a very special thank you. We have folks here from at least one, maybe more, from my old center back in Philadelphia, where they put up with me for 10 years, and I put up with them, and we had a great, wonderful time, and I kind of grew up there, and we all grew up together. It was a great experience. So welcome. She got there after I left, which is okay, too. So we're glad you're here. And anyone else here for the first time, be sure and say hello if you haven't. Yes, we have another. Thank you. Welcome. 3 sisters. We have 3 sisters, so, and Mama. So we're having a mother, and the next generation is in the children's program. So we have quite a wonderful family here celebrating with us, and of course you too. So with that, let me say that at this point we look at what we believe here. And we do this not so much as a doctrine to say this is what you have to believe to be part of us, but it's to say this is what we teach, this is what our system, our teaching, our celebration, our Sunday community is really based on. And reading it together gives us an opportunity to decide if it fits or not. And gives you an opportunity to decide, do I really love this or not? And are there parts of it I want to aspire to or come to believe or not? And it's a way to keep reminding ourselves. So I invite you to join me, if you will, and stand as we read this together. I believe in one God, one absolute power and first cause to all things. I believe that this power is perfect love, and it creates out of a desire to express love. I believe all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience. I believe in the unity of all life and the immortality of the individual soul forever unfolding. I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God to all. So it is. Thank you, and be seated. One of the things it says in our vision and mission is that we are a globally connected community. One of those global connections connected me with our next presenter several years ago now, as he was completing his practitioner training in sunny California, and I got to be a part of that process, and we met, and little did we know then that we'd be doing this, but we both said, yes, we'd love to work together sometime, and you know how Spirit is. Be careful what you say. It shows up. So I'm very happy to introduce Doug to come and speak to us. He's one of our practitioners and is a wonderful leader in this center. So, Doug Moody, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning and happy Mother's Day. A big salute to all the moms out in the audience here today. We treasure your loving and nurturing spirits and your presence in our lives. I just love Mother's Day. I don't know about you guys. And I have a little story to share about that. You know, there was this kid, and he was like a little boy, probably about 5 or 6 years old, and he was asking his dad, he's like, "Dad, what's a man?" And the dad says, "A man is someone who is responsible and takes care of the family." The little boy looks up at him and he says, "Oh, then when I'm a man, I want to be just like Mom." I think that's what happened to me. But, you know, pearls of wisdom comes out of the mouths of children, right? And then there's Dorothy from that kind of stubborn character from the Golden Girls. And one of my favorite lines that she said on one episode of the show is that she said, "You know, it's never easy being a mother. If it were easy, fathers would be doing it."
I resemble that.
So I struggled this week a little bit trying to find something in relation to my mother in terms of a demonstration and kind of tying it into Dr. Bob Deen's talk, Let It Go. And so I kind of did just that, I let it go. And as I thought about it, I was like, well, wait a second, because I have been working on something, and something did happen and manifest and demonstrate for me this week that I wanted to share with you. And it's just a little bit of an example of how this teaching and how this power can be so applicable and so valuable in our lives, even just with like little bitty things. So probably over the last month, I have been talking with my mother. My parents both live in Southwest Louisiana. My dad has been bedridden for 5 years and is almost 92 years old. And my mother is about 9 years younger than him, so she's now about 83 years old. And she's got help that comes in during the day and helps her with my father, but she kind of has the night shift and does all the cooking and, you know, won't leave his side, the dedicated caretaker that she always is. And so she's been putting off this cataract surgery, part of because I think, you know, we have a natural tendency to put things off now for about 5 years. And finally she went to see her doctor, her ophthalmologist again, and she said, "You know, you've been putting this off for a while and you're not getting any younger, and it's probably time that you should have this done." And so my mom called me and she said, "You know, do you think we can like make something happen here? I really need to have this surgery." And we had just gotten back from vacation, and I kind of thought, oh, you know, I'll have to request for more time off. But I said, "Mom, let's do this." And I kind of have to like coach her because with everything on her plate, she tends to get a little bit kind of scattered, you know. So I said, "Look, pin down your date that you can have your surgery, talk to your surgeon, and let's get that established first. And then once we have that, we'll work around that." So I nudged her through that process for about 2 weeks, and finally she came back Tuesday and she said, "I've scheduled my surgery for June 4th. I said, "Great." So I said, "You know, I will work on things on my end," and I said, "Let's just know that everything is fine and this is going to happen." And so I put in my request through our scheduling system at work and all this kind of stuff, and I explained to my manager the situation. And when I was doing this, I just said, "You know what? I'm not even going to worry about this because I'm just going to know that this time and space is already created for me, and it's there." And so I submitted my request, and just Friday at work, I was walking in, and my manager said, "Hey, we got your message, and no worry, you're good. You got the time." And so it was already done, and I was so grateful. And I know it's just like a little thing, but when I told my mom Friday evening, she was so happy, and she said, "You know, this is the best Mother's Day gift you could ever give me." So it's funny how something just so, you know, I wouldn't even think of it as like a major demonstration, but it was, because I did invoke the law and I put the law into work, and I knew that that space would be created for me and for her and for me to support her. And it happened. So it's just another reminder of how this teaching can be so powerful and so helpful in our lives to create the experiences that we desire, especially when loving and supporting the people that we love. So on that note, I would like to ask you to get comfortable in your chairs and join me in affirmative prayer. Relax in your seats and uncross your arms and legs and even close your eyes. Just be open and receptive. I'm going to say this affirmative prayer in first person, but accept it for yourself or whatever parts of it resonate with you. There's only one power, one infinite intelligence operating throughout the universe and operating through me and each, now and always. And I am always one with this infinite intelligence that is God, because it is always shining forth from within me, that still voice of unlimited wisdom and possibility, expressing perfectly and uniquely as me in the world. I am one with and have the same power within me that created the universe right now, always. Today and every day forward, I recognize and claim the infinite power of love that is always within me, simply awaiting my recognition of it, calling spirit forth into action. I know love is the essential basis of all creative action in every area of my life, working in my joyful work and self-expression, in my health and well-being, in my loving relationships, and in my wealth and prosperity. I use this creative power of love to co-create the life that I desire. I nurture this essence of love and creative power within me like a mother cradles her newborn child. Today and every day, I honor the spirit of this motherly love that lives on through me, flowing infinitely to, through, and expressing out as me in the world. I claim divine wisdom, right action, love, and courage, guiding me and all forward every day, knowing that I have within me everything I need to create the life that I desire. I call love forward now and let it empower my nurturing being. My mind and heart are open and receptive to today's lesson, knowing there is something right here, right now, that is exactly what I need to know at this time to move me forward into a greater expression of life. I claim this with divine wisdom for myself and all present. My heart and thoughts are overflowing with love and joy and gratitude and great expectations, knowing that I am empowered. I am an empowered, loving expression of the divine in the world. I am grateful for the infinite creative power of this love. And I am also grateful for this teaching, this center, our minister and staff, and for the mindful consciousness within me and everyone here. I joyfully release my word into the universal law, knowing it is done. And I simply let it be so. And it is wonderful. And we say together, and so it is.
So it is. Thank you, thank you. Awesome. Mother's Day. Doug loves it. I used to hate it. Used to hate it. I kind of like it now. I'd go back and forth. Most people have one kind of love-hate relations, different mix-up feelings about Mother's Day. It has a lot to do with where we are with our mothers. One of the things that I find is interesting is that I've spent quite a few years as a hospital chaplain, and part of my job with that was to sit with folks in their final hours and moments and hear their stories and share. And the consistent, always topic that came up near the end of someone's life was their mothers. You always heard a story about how the relationship was, a wonderful story about them, some kind of a reference or some kind of rehashing and finally putting to rest that relationship. It is the most significant relationship we have in life because it is our first one. It is where we come from. It is how we are birthed. We are physically connected at some point. So that's a part of why I think Mother's Day can be difficult for some people, because it's a relationship that is so important that most people spend their lives working with it. The other reason I think it can be difficult is for folks who have, women particularly, who have chosen not to be mothers physically in this world, and that can sometimes be a little odd for people. They can make judgments about themselves, or they can be afraid of judgments from other people. There are all kinds of things that get tangled up in that for people that can make it a little uncomfortable, a little strange, a little different. And some people just don't like all the roses and flowers and whoop-de-doo. It's just, forget it. Let's just make it another day. Whatever the reasons are, if you're uncomfortable with it, I hope you go away from here today with a little different perspective that will make it a more celebratory experience for you, no matter what your background or what you bring to it. If it's already a grand celebration, then this will hopefully give you something to take it a little deeper and make it a little more fun, and a little better and a little greater. You know, there are two constants in the universe. Two constants that you can count on, that are going to be there no matter what. And it's the recognition of those, and the recognition that underneath and behind everything we talk about is this greater truth that we are always looking to apply, not trying, but are applying to our lives. This greater truth of new thought, this greater truth of science of mind for some of us, but the idea that there is spiritual law and spiritual truth at work in everything and everywhere at all times. So no matter what we are experiencing at any time, we can apply that and take a look at it and bring it forth and bring it to life for ourselves in a way that is useful and helpful. So the two constants that I want to talk about today are part of that you can count on, that are always there no matter what. And the first one is impermanence, otherwise known as change. There is one thing you can count on that is always happening from this moment to this moment to this moment, and that is change. Not a person in here looks like you did when you got here. Not a person in here is the same person you were when you got here. You've had new experiences. Systems have changed in your body. Cells have changed where they are and how they're working. All kinds of things have already changed. You're certainly not the person you were a year ago or 10 years ago or at any moment. And you aren't the same as you'll be tomorrow. I don't know about anyone else, but when I moved back to Atlanta after being gone for 20 years or so, it wasn't the same. Holy Moses, was there change. Several times I headed off to some place I used to love to go to eat or whatever, and come around the corner, and instead of my old restaurant, there's a building that's 490 stories high, you know, or some other. I mean, I expected that. I wasn't too surprised. But it's always going on. It's always happening. It's always there. Nothing really changes the fact that the one constant is change. I mean, we're flying through the universe at millions of miles per hour in circles and spins and spirals right now. So how could we expect anything to be still, constant, and unchanging? We really can't. However, the other truth that's a constant in the universe is that spirit never changes. That the presence and the power of the infinite in us, as us, through us, around us, and working with us is always there. Nothing stops it. Nothing changes it. The love that God is always there. And that love that God is always present in you. The presence of the power of the universe is always with you, whether we know it or not. You know the old poem, the two footprints on the beach. The guy looks back and says, you know, there's a path here on the beach, and for a long time there were two footprints going, but when things were really rough, there was only one set of footprints. What's that about? Well, at those times you may not have seen that Spirit was walking with you, but it was actually carrying you even when you didn't feel it. We are never separate from the infinite. It is always with us. That cannot change, will not change, and has never changed, whether we are recognizing it in the moment. Ernest Holmes says it this way. Spirit is a changeless reality. That which we call personality is the instrument through which Spirit operates, but Spirit can operate for an individual only by operating through that individual. It's always here. It's always operating with us and through us. And as it operates through us, it takes shape and form. It takes this form. It takes your form. It takes the form of this thing I need to lean on in order to hold myself up in moments and also to have a place to put my reminders. It's in every shape and form that there is. It operates through us by creating those things. However, Spirit is never bound by the form that it takes. Never bound by the form that it takes. What in the world is he talking about? Money. Let's take money. There was a time when the exchange of money was about trading rocks. Or in subcultures, beads. Certain beads from certain plants were the monetary exchange. And if you had a lot of those beads, man, you were rich. And you traded those beads to other people for goods and services. Some cultures, it was animals. Thank goodness we don't do that anymore. Imagine hauling around sheep and cows and horses in order to trade her out and to pay for your internet. I mean, that just wouldn't work. So money as value is a constant. It's a constant in life. It's a constant in spirit. We have always had it, but it has shown up in every kind of form you can imagine. In my lifetime, it went from pieces of paper with numbers on it now to the primary thing, which is blips in a computer somewhere. Electronic blips floating through the air around us is our exchange, is our money. So the form changes, but the reality stays the same. We need a system of exchanging value for value. Family changes. And yet the essence of family, a place to be nurtured and known and supported and recognized, doesn't change. That's always there. But the form changes. It used to be we had great big families because we had families that did the work. So you had mixed families. The family I come from had 20. My grandfather's generation had 28 children that were legitimate. And then there were some others. And then there were a bunch of other people who were part of the family that we never quite knew who they were or where they came from, but they were part of the family. And they showed up for family dinner, and we called them aunt and uncle, and to this day I don't know the connections. Didn't matter, because we loved and supported and took care of each other. And World War II happened, and we dropped into the family idea of the two parents and 1.2 children or 2.3 children or whatever the numbers were at that time. And for years in this country, family was defined that way. You had this little nuclear family that had to look a certain way to really be family. And then that began to explode. And now family is two guys, two gals, two guys and three gals. I have friends who are couples. I have friends who are truples. You know what a throuple is? A throuple is a marriage. Not legal, but a marriage between three people who form a family. And there are all sorts of other combinations. There are thruples. There are groups. There are groups that come together to raise children and do the same thing family has always done. So the shape and the form constantly changes. What that has to do with Mother's Day is this. Part of what gives us difficulty on Mother's Day is that we get attached to the form of mother and not the truth of mother. There is a divine element of the feminine, of the mother. Mother is the nurturer. Mother is the one who provides and sustains. We talk about Mother Earth. Everything in our physical bodies comes from Mother Earth. Everything. So Mother Earth is that part of us, that place where we live, that takes care of us, that supports us, that is always there for us, that gives us what we need. The mother energy, the mother idea is that. The divine mother is the idea that there is something divine and expansive about that is huge. One of the spiritual truths is that no form, be it money, family, yourself, anything else, can fully express the totality of the spiritual version of that form. What that means is no mother can be the divine mother. Sorry, ladies. Sorry, guys. But it does mean that the divine mother is present in every one of us. Male, female, whatever. That rule has all changed now, too, you know. We used to have a real clear thing about this is a boy and what a boy's supposed to be, and this is a girl and what a girl's supposed to be. I mean, it was never really that clear, but we thought it was. You know, boys don't cry, girls can. Boys know math, girls can't. Now we know none of that fits. Now we have, just in the world of gender, we have male, female, non-binary, binary. We have gender fluid, and the list goes on and on. Of people who self-identify and recognize within themselves they don't fit those old categories the way they used to be. Same thing with sexuality. All of that is shifting and changing as we're opening up to the greater possibility of what human beings are as spiritual beings, what we can be and become. So in our thinking about this whole business of mother, nobody's mother, no matter how marvelous she may have been, fully lived up to and lived out the divine mother energy. What she did was the very best that she could. We teach here that everything is available to us, and we can have all of the prosperity, the rich relationships, the wonderful job opportunities, the perfect health. All of that's available to us. And we can have as much of it as we can believe in and embody. But not any of us have had all of it yet, or we'd be divine and infinite and wouldn't be messing around sitting here listening to me, that's for sure. Get it? So our mothers embodied as much as they could. And we can only love and honor them for that. And we need then to be able to do what is a very powerful spiritual practice, and that is to release our attachment to all of the other stuff. To release our attachment to the idea that their humanity, their limitation on how much form they could live and bring forward is something we have to hold on to. That it matters. Because what matters, what is sustainable and consistent, isn't what isn't true and real, which is our anger, our hate, our frustration, our lack of support for one another, all those other things that show up. That's not sustainable. That doesn't go on. What goes on is spirit, love, joy, support, protection, all of that. So we attach to the spiritual and we let go of what is changing, because if you try to hold on to something that's changing, you know what happens. You just get all messed up. I mean, try not to use the internet for a week. For anybody that doesn't much like it. You can last for a little while, but life will get really hard and difficult for you. You're going to have to pay cash for everything. You're going to have to get your cash from the person at the bank. But actually, that doesn't work because the internet's involved and you're getting the cash when you just can't do it. So we let go of our attachment to the form and keep our attachment to spirit and to the possibility into life. Let go of the attachment to the form that our mothers were or weren't. And hold on to the attachment of the divine mother in them. And be grateful that they gave us life. Everything else is extra. They were the vehicles through which we all came into physical life. The rest is extra. And I know this is hard if you have difficult, painful experiences or background. But I have some of that too, but I can guarantee you that this is part of what will help get through that place to a place of peace, to a place of harmony, to a place within you where, okay, that's the story. I'm not holding on to that story. That story no longer is the truth of me or affects how I live. What I hold on to is the story of the divine, the good, the joy that was there in her, in my mothering experience. I first realized this about Father's Day. My father died when I was quite young. And one Father's Day, I was starting to bemoan the fact that I didn't have any fathers to call and say thank you to. And then I started thinking, well, I could call my grandpa. Man, he was a dad to me. And then there was Uncle Joe and Uncle Cecil. Oh, and then my 7th grade teacher. And as I kept going down the list, I had more fathers to call than I could get to in one day. The same thing is true with mothers. We're not mothered through one vehicle, through one form. We're mothered through many forms and many people, male, female, teachers, people we may not even know how we were related to. Systems sometimes even can be mothers. So the tool for the journey we're talking about today is this tool of letting go. It's the tool of letting go attachment to the form, the tool of letting go of the idea that it has to stay the same and it will always be the same and will always be there. And the thing I want to be clear about here is this does not mean detachment. It does not mean becoming detached from life, from the forms of life. It means being fully engaged in life, fully engaged with the people in our lives and the things that we choose to be part of. Letting go of our defenses, letting go of our ways that we numb out, and really getting fully engaged. And we can do that if we come at it knowing that the form we're engaged in, the joy it's bringing us, isn't going to be there forever. So we enjoy it while it's there, and then we let it go. I love to ride roller coasters. It's one of my favorite things to do. I have a friend we used to get together and just go ride roller coasters. We do it in... We actually, interestingly, lived in the same towns twice in our life experiences. And anytime we traveled and we're traveling and ran into each other, we always went and found a roller coaster. Loved roller coaster. Rode them sometimes to that queasy. One of my favorites was in Florida, where when you do the big plunge, it takes you right down over the alligator pit. And the alligators all open their mouths. And they're real alligators, too. That was fun. It was great. It was enjoyable. It was engaging. My goodness, I would not want to take that home and do it every day. The form. There are lots of other ways to have that joy and that excitement and that fullness and that camaraderie and that connection and that friendship. You can get locked into the idea the only way I can have fun and have a good time is to get on a roller coaster. Holy Moses, that's going to be a tough life. But we do that with all kinds of things. So the idea here is use the spiritual practice of letting go. Because when you let go, look what happens. Your arms are wide open and ready to embrace something new. And until you do that, you can't. Until you let go, your palms aren't open to receive what is new and to grasp something else. Let go. So how do you let go? How do you do that? There's some great practices that we teach. Gratitude is one. Gratitude and praise. That's an old Christian idea of praise. You hear that word. We don't talk about praising around here too much. We don't have raise and praise kind of things. I know many of you are grateful for that. We're keeping it up. What we do, though, what I am saying in this is if you praise something and have gratitude for it, you are giving it huge value and allowing it to be itself. If you've got something you're having trouble letting go of, raise it and praise it. I praise the good time I had on that roller coaster. It's gone now. I praised and raised the good time I had. Always taking notes on paper. I raised and praised Mom. She did the best she could. Another one is forgiveness. We teach a really specific way of forgiving, and that is a simple prayer. When you breathe out, I bless you. Say it in your mind and say her name. When you breathe in, I accept you. See, all of my mom's stuff that she did, I thought she did to me, and there was some that she did, and all of those limits and limitations and stuff were not because she set out to do harm to me. It's because she was doing the best she could with what she'd been given. And because this amazing woman who was born born in the 20s in a very narrow worldview, hit with World War II during her teenage years, left at age 20 with no husband and 2 kids to raise, no skills. Man, she did the best she could. She worked hard. She went back and got skills. She went to school. She learned. And then lo and behold, one of those 2 kids to this good, sweet, wonderful little Baptist lady turned out to be gay. Oh my God, what do I do with that? I love this kid. And he's not supposed to be that. She wrestled through all of that. And she still loved me. Her out was that she believed in once saved, always saved. So she knew I was saved, so she couldn't condemn me if God didn't condemn me. She found a way. She loved her biracial grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And that flew against everything she had learned when she was young. Not a lot of education, but she found a way to live because the spirit of mother, of nurturer, of giver, of carer was in her. So in those places and times where she failed miserably to be that, it didn't take away or undo the fact that it was always there and already there. And so as she came to the end of her life, she was able to celebrate all of the good that she had done and experienced. We were able to be there with her when she made her transition, which was quite wonderful. And I even pulled out my old Baptist roots, and we sang hymns to her as she slipped away, and it was really sweet and wonderful. It happened this week, actually. 5 years ago. A few weeks later, and you've heard this story before, we did the memorial in the little Baptist church down there. Wonderful people, loving people, great people. And my 3-year-old granddaughter, who's sitting on the front row with her mother, and who's a wild one, was then, still is, she's 8 now. You've seen her around here. She got loose because she spotted a microphone up on the stage. And up on the stage she went, right past the casket where Mom's laying out, probably snickering through the whole thing, and grabs the microphone, and it was like on a different level, so she was short enough. If she kind of climbed up on the chair behind it, she was at mouth level, and she started to sing. And that was the time when every 3-year-old in the country knew the song, Let It Go, from Frozen. She had every gesture, every note, every word. Let it go, let it go, let it go. I asked her to come sing for this, but she was too bashful now. But then, there was no bashful. And we were frozen. My daughter started after her, and I grabbed her and said, no, just sit. Let it go. And she did the whole song, all 5.5 minutes of it. Every word, every gesture, every note, the whole thing. Got through, the whole place burst into applause. And I knew that Mom was there and leading the cheer. Because that's what you got to do, folks. With any of this stuff that we're stuck with that's hurting us, or that we think has to remain the same way it always was, whether it's mom stuff, whether it's dad stuff, whether it's what we believe about ourselves. How many of us still operate on messages that we were given 20 years ago, or 5 years ago, or yesterday? You got a look from somebody and you're still processing, what did that mean, and do they like me or not? Let it go. Because whatever it meant in that moment is past. The form is gone. It has changed. And what is now is the reality of Spirit in this moment, at this time, creating something brand new. So I challenge you to let this Mother's Day be the Mother's Day where you create a new Mother's Day experience for yourself. Where no matter whether you're male, female, green, black, yellow, purple, whatever you are, you create within you, you open up and recognize within you that divine Mother Spirit that you are. We all have the divine Mother in us. We all have the purity of life and living and the support and the protector and all of those things within us. Embrace it. Celebrate it, because you are wonderful. So am I, and so it is. Thank you. Nice deep breath. Take a moment. Let's close our eyes. Let's go within. Turn our attention to within. Not because there's anything wrong with what's around us, but simply to be able to focus more clearly on our own consciousness. And as we do this knowing, without a doubt, without a question, that we are spirit. We are expressions of spirit, that all that life, that spirit is in us, around us. Not only is it in the form, it surrounds the form. The form of me. I am not the totality of who I am yet. As long as I live, I will be gathering and embracing and experiencing and expressing more of who that is. I'll be bringing greater love. I am bringing greater love. I am bringing greater joy. I am bringing greater nurture. And the Divine Mother within me is expressing itself at all the right places and right times. I allow myself to be filled with and surrounded by that truth, that reality. Not as a metaphor, but as a reality, because it is really here. We can measure it. So I claim this for myself today. I claim my brand new mother and Mother's Day. I celebrate the mother within me. I celebrate the mothers around me. I celebrate the mothers in my past. I celebrate the mothers in my future. And I do that with great love and great joy and deep appreciation. Minimizing nothing. And as I sit here in quiet for a moment, I let one idea, one person, one thing pop into my mind, guided by Spirit, that I can do this day to anchor this idea into my physical life. This is my truth. I choose it. I let it be, and so it is. Okay, all you mothers out there, which is everybody, I'm glad you're here. This is our time in the celebration where we share with each other our prosperity, that form we talked about. It takes lots of form. So as the basket comes by, whether you're sharing your prosperity in the form of money, a credit card, or just a blessing, a gratitude blessing for this place and what we're about and what we're doing. We are a place that is committed to anchoring the truth of Spirit in this place, in this area of the city at this time. And we keep that commitment, and we do that by your generosity and your help. So thank you for all that you do to support us. If you're here for the first time, thank you. Take this as a gift. If you are here for the whatever time, and today is a good day for that, take it as a gift. This is our life, and we bring it in great goodness and great freedom right here, right now.